Thank you, Amanda. If you're just jumping in, I want you all to know that we're going to have some students in here, alumni in here, and individuals who are thinking about coaching, potentially entering into the coaching space. So I'm just so glad that our energy gets to connect today. I have three magical human beings that you're going to get to learn from with their experience in coaching. As we just let people funnel in, feel free to put into the chat or unmute one thing you're grateful for that's happened in your day so far. I can share. I'm absolutely grateful for this energy and connection here. But I'm also grateful I got the opportunity to talk to a best friend. And we usually exchange voice messages back and forth, but we had 30 minutes of uninterrupted time where we were able to connect. So that was really special today. Grateful for a nap. Oh, Anne Marie, that sounds magical. Yes. The last time I napped. Oh, good weather. Oh, I'm glad, Kayla. Amanda, you're our gardening rock star. I'm so glad. I love the flowers. I can't keep up. These are wonderful. Oh, reflections from a client. Thanks for sharing, Denise. Pool with your boys. Oh, Allison, that sounds so wonderful. Keep them coming, everybody. This is so great. Well, I want you to know tonight we are really going to get to spend some time together and focus on how you can use a coaching certification in a couple of different ways. I have Marnée, Denise, and Kat with me. I'm going to ask some questions to help support some conversation and just their background and how they work in the coaching industry. But I'll also want to hear from all of you. So please know, as always, I want this to be conversational. Put your questions into the chat. Tonight, I'll ask some questions to our panelists, and then we'll kind of have a Q&A section so that you can unmute, ask questions, or again, please feel free to put them in the chat if something comes up for you as you hear one of our panelists speaking. Sound like a good use of your time? Perfect. I'm totally good with you having your video on. You also can turn your video off. Please know that this session is recorded and we will send out a replay. So it's just whatever you're comfortable with. But with that, I want to just take the moment to introduce our panelists. Um, Please know that throughout this experience, again, if you do have questions, I'm just recapping this, put them into the chat and then we will have a Q&A section. But anyways, to our panelists, I first want to introduce Marnée. Marnée, give a wave so we could see you on Zoom. Thank you. Marnée is an advanced certified life coach and associate career coach at Randstad Smart, and that is one of the largest talent firms in the world. She works with people at the most challenging, charged times in their careers, from interview prep to completing career pivots, stepping into retirement, whatever that work transition can look like. She also has her own personal coaching practice called Pleasant Tense Life Coaching. And a fun fact about Marnée is she is also a professional trained vocalist. Marnée will be singing all of her answers to the questions tonight. It'll be great. Welcome, Marnée. So glad to have you here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then, Kat, I'm going to introduce you next. Give a wave. Kat is a Lumia Advanced Certified Life Coach. She has her ACC and she's a career coach at strawberry.me. She also is the founder of her own practice, Symphonic Mind Body Coaching, where she really blends career strategy with somatic nervous system awareness in her coaching. And she's got over 10 years in recruiting and career development. Kat, so happy to have you here. You also can sing your answers if that feels like a calling to you. Thanks so much.
I may.
And Denise, welcome. Denise is the founder of DBK Coaching and Consulting, and Denise had a corporate HR leader background, coaching kind of found her. And people she worked with kept coming back to her for guidance and support. And one day someone asked if they could pay her. So she said yes and really crafted this professional business coaching platform. Denise, welcome. So glad to have you all here. With that, I just want to give a moment, Kat, Marnée, Denise, anything you want to add about yourselves before we break down in questions.
Just excited to be here.
Same.
Likewise.
Thank you all so much. I'm like seeing in the chat, grateful for support from others. That's like exactly what this is going to be. So thank you all so much for being here. So let's jump right in. Let's take a moment. I'd love to hear from all three of you. Walk us through what your job actually looks like day to day, who you're working with, and what you're doing in the coaching space. Kat, we'll start with you.
All right. Hi, everyone. Can you all hear me okay?
Hear you great.
Okay, perfect. So I basically have two coaching jobs right now. As Christy mentioned, I do work as a career coach for Strawberry.me. For any of you who haven't heard of it, Strawberry.me is a wellness platform, and they offer life coaching and career coaching, but most of the clients are coming for career coaching. So with those clients that I coach there, a lot of it is, career development, job search strategy, breaking out into new careers, and then, of course, life coaching topics come up naturally within those sessions as well. And then in my private practice, so that's more of a mind body kind of life coaching space. So I came up with that business through personal experience, having, experienced chronic pain for about 20 plus years, needing to have back surgery, coming out of that, moving from pain to a more healthy space, getting to a healthy lifestyle, realizing the connection between stress and how it lives and acts in the body. And so my coaching really kind of focuses on how to help people identify that stress and move away from it so it doesn't start doing things in the body. Interestingly enough, a lot of my private practice clients have been neurodivergent clients, and I'm realizing I actually really enjoy coaching them because I do consider myself quite a structured, organized person. And typically, a lot of clients in that space, they're looking for structure. So that's been kind of something interesting. So those are the kind of two types of clients that I've been coaching as of late.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kat, and for giving your personal energy into those humans. I know that it makes a difference. Thank you. Denise, how about you?
Hey everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. So my practice is not niche at all. I am the anti-niche girl. And really the common thread in all of it is my practice mantra is that I'm a chaos Sherpa. I help people navigate complex and complicated things and help them find the tether in the center of the storm that lets them see where they're supposed to go next and make a plan around that. And so I tend to, by nature of my, historic background in corporate, I have a number of people who seek me out who knew me in my corporate life for either career or life or blended coaching. People, like ask me, "Oh, are you a career coach or a life coach?" And my approach is that it's holistic. I'm a whole person coach because you can't really draw a bright line in between the two, and if you do, it's not really sustainable. And that usually has something to do with that chaos. And so individuals who are leaders and or people who want to progress their career or maybe make a pivot in a professional setting. And then I have a couple of other, different niches or focuses. I work very specifically with emerging young professionals. I have a program that I've built out around coaching and working with the professional individuals who are like, maybe 1 or 2 years into 10 years into their career. And it's really focused on all the things that they run into a wall and fall down on that nobody teaches them when they were in school. Real life kinds of things and navigating some of the complexities of political, bureaucratic environment, why they need a mentor and a sponsor, how to show up, how to handle conflict, how to speak and have conversation. That's a really big area of need. And then, most uniquely, that found me, I have a focus also in multi-generational family coaching. So at this moment, I have an entire family that's a multi-generational business family. I work with the matriarch, the patriarch. There's six adult children. There are five partners and a few of their young professional Gen 3s. And so it's never boring for sure. And I like that. I'm a plate spinner. I like to have that variety and diversity because Kat, I am neurodiverse, and so I really enjoy having that, kind of variety in what I work with and focus on. And even in my consulting work, which tends to be organizational strategy and design and culture, it always tends to lead to coaching. And that's really just, the best part of my day all the time.
You light up, Denise, when you talk about it.
Thank you.
And just even like who you're working with, I feel the whole life, the whole circle of expansion of individuals. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
And Marnay.
Thank you. Yeah. So my day to day with Randstad Rise Smart, I'm coaching individuals who have recently been laid off. Randstad partners with companies to provide this service for their employees after they've been let go. So they're coming to me with a lot of emotion, and I'm not only helping them through that transition, but to also process all of that. Some of them show up pretty angry, some of them are sad. And some of them are excited and ready to get the ball rolling on what is next for them. So I get a range of people that I get to coach through this role, from early career people to those who are ready to retire, or they're not sure if they're ready to retire. And we get to walk through that process together as well. So yeah, it's not initially what I want to focus on. My private practice, Pleasant Tense Life Coaching, is really focused on more of the personal side, bringing in the career stuff for sure, as I do have a background in recruiting as well. I was in recruiting for 10 plus years, mainly in the tech space. So that's naturally going to come in. But I really want to help people reconnect with themselves. I found myself disconnected at one point where I couldn't just hear my own voice. I couldn't trust myself and what I wanted to do. And I didn't know what I wanted. So I moved through that, and I want to help others do the same. But yeah, I'm building that right now. Randstad is rather part-time. I spend maybe 10 to 15 hours a week. So the rest of that time I get to study for my ACC and yeah, and build my own business. Yeah.
Marnay, thank you for sharing that. I saw head nods as you were speaking about like what it means to like understand who you are, how you support others, and the space that you're helping individuals. I'd love to kind of expand on that and ask you a question. And Denise and Kat, I'll come to you as well. When you think about coworkers or leaders that you have worked with in the past, or even that you're coaching, what would you say is the notable difference in someone who has coaching skills?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say the notable difference is the act of deeply listening to really understand the issue, what's going on, what needs to be done. I think a lot of things kind of get glazed over because we're not listening or paying attention to what is really happening. And then that position of like being able to ask questions, to dig deeper, and to really understand the root of the cause, that helps teams really get closer to the solution at the end of the day. And for recruiting in general, like I'm always asking questions and inquiring and really digging deep to see if someone might be a good fit for not only the role, but also the company and the team itself. So I think it's that really that inquiry piece that is missing right now.
Mm. Thank you so much for sharing that. As you were speaking, I realized that I didn't take a moment to introduce what I do here at Lumia. I was too excited. So, hey everyone, I'm Christy. And I serve Lumia as the Community Engagement Director. The reason I bring this up is because I get the opportunity to work with our students very closely, especially at the start of their program in orientation, in your first few classes, and then really closely in community events and alumni support. And Marnay, I vividly remember when you started the program of you sharing your experience in recruiting and like thinking to myself, you've been coaching for so long. And like the fact that that is like so present for you to ask questions versus tell someone what to do, it is so huge and is 100% a coaching skill. Like to ask questions to curate solution versus, hey, let me tell you what to do, and that's the solution. So thank you so much for sharing that. Denise, I saw your head nod a lot when Marnay was communicating. So tell me kind of your thoughts and what you've experienced,
Yeah, for
especially in the
sure.
corporate sector.
Yes, absolutely. So, Marnée, 100% listening, right? There are, especially in the corporate world, a lot of people who are just wired to solve. And so the goal in many conversations without having coaching, a coaching mindset or any kind of coaching expertise is just to like, what's your problem? We're solving it, go, right? And that's surface, right? And it's executing and it's tactical, but it doesn't mean that we're actually getting to the root of the challenge. And so when we do good coaching, we're curious, we're listening, we're using emotional intelligence, social intelligence, picking up on cues that other people will run by. And I think, the other element of um, what I think is really impactful in coaching is the willingness to help the person you're working with move beyond the spin, right? And so it's really easy to kind of get stuck in a loop. And if you aren't in a coaching mode and you're in a solve mode or you're just in an empathy listening mode, it's also not a tendency to help that person see how they can build a path toward action to make a shift or improve or feel better about whatever it is that the challenge is. And sometimes that takes courage because it takes some real honest talk. That whole like honest is kind thought process. A lot of leaders have a really hard time with that, especially in the corporate world. The higher you get in the food chain, if your title starts with a C, a lot of times you don't really want the conflict. And so you'll delegate the conflict to someone else, but truthfully, the way that it, is most impactful is it's coming directly from the source. Helping that person be comfortable with how they then coach someone else that they need to work with as well is a really critical element.
Thank you, Denise. I appreciate your insights in that. I almost have like a follow-up question because you do coaching and consulting.
Mhm.
One thing when we enter the coaching space, it's important. I know in Lumia we communicate about the difference between coaching and consulting. How do you define that, especially in a corporate setting to support your clients?
Yeah, so it just you have to be really clear about what fits in what bucket, right? And so if we have a project that we're working on, if I have a client I was just talking with today who has a culture related project that we're tackling from a couple of different angles, and I have another consulting partner who's coming in with me to work with some of the elements on the details of it because I don't like that part. And at the same time, this is a C-suite leader who has asked, the way it started was, will you coach me? Because I want to grow. And so we were just discussing the fact that we were going to have two separate work streams running simultaneously. And one would be the work stream of this consulting work, where it's myself and some other people involved, and he and some of his people, right? And that's project work. But then we have another work stream that is this one-on-one coaching that will impact the way that he shows up here and the way that he can help and support his team members. But it's not the same, right? It's not one of the things I say a lot in that space is My job is to help you sort it out. Your job is to figure out what direction you want to take, right? And so just really being clear. Um, and and the second it starts to like tip into, coaching, then we just, take a little pause, take a back breath, and redefine where we want to go with that. And if we want to do coaching, then we bucket that and we do that. But it's not like this, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing the like two separations. I think it's helpful for all of us to hear that because the lines can get blurred, but it's our job as the coach. You described it so beautifully. The client is always in the driver's seat. We get to see where they want to go. We get to show curiosity
Yeah.
through the questions that we provide, but they're going. They're doing the driving.
Yeah. And honestly, even in consulting, that is the approach that I take, in that my job is to give you my guidance and I can tell you what I would do, but my job isn't to make the decision. You have to make that decision, right? I'm not going to take on that ownership for my client because that doesn't sit well over time, right?
Whole life, that whole experience that you are creating. Thanks so much for sharing, Denise. Kat, I'm gonna switch it up and ask you a different question to just kind of expand on this. Truly, coaching roles inside companies are still something most people don't know exist. So tell us about how you found your way into this lane of coaching.
Into the career coaching or into life coaching?
I say both.
Sure,
Talk to us
sure.
about both.
So with career coaching and particularly with Strawberry, I honestly think I just came across an advertisement on Instagram, and then the very next day I got curious and found an ad on LinkedIn, and turns out they were looking for career coaches. But it really is like the perfect kind of combination of my HR experience working as a senior recruiter coupled with life coaching. So, and I think that really was a thing that kind of piqued my interest specifically when it came to career coaching, was because I realized I had been doing it for so long. Every time I trained a hiring manager, every time I trained and onboarded a new recruiter, I was coaching. Every time I was asked to create a process and then teach it to others and speak to the learning and development team, I was coaching. And so I think I just kind of like realized that I have already been in this space without the title. So that's kind of what, kind of got me interested in the career coaching space. And then I think in terms of the life coaching space, again, realizing that I've been life coaching family and friends and people my whole life in different ways as well. And that, I shared a bit about my chronic pain story, but that really kind of came about through that, and really feeling deeply that I just feel this strong need to help coach people out of that pain space.
Thanks, Kat. Thanks for just being so open and vulnerable how this all started for you and what this means. Marnée, is there anything that you would want to add? Because again, that I mean, honestly, I saw Marnée and Denise. You'd be like, yes, I did that too. But tell me a little bit about your perspective, Marnée.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like you saw in me that I was already coaching and recruiting probably before I did. Um, but in terms of like the role at Randstad, that was Lumia. Lumia got me there. That's how I found out about it and took the chance and interviewed and just learned a lot through that process as well. And I appreciate that they also adhere to like the ICF ethics, so I can continue to use what I am learning in that role or what I've learned in that role. But yeah, I think there's so much room to grow in coaching in general, and it's going to only expand from here.
Thank you, Marnay. I appreciate it. Denise, a question for you, kind of expanding again from this. What would you say people get wrong about a coaching career and what it actually looks like?
Um, there's a lot, honestly. I think, one of the things that we miss or we don't think about, I don't know if I would say you get it wrong necessarily, but that becomes very clear when you start really doing a lot of this work, is the energetic kind of lift that it takes to do this work, and understanding what kind of preservation of your own energy you need to be conscious of when you're doing especially really complex or challenging coaching. Um, and so, I think just understanding that it seems so natural, but then the natural element of what draws us to us can also have us, kind of let a boundary slip to just be there or help or fix or whatever it might be. And so I think that's, one piece of it. I think, from the outside, people think, oh, you just talk about nice things all the time, right? And so helping them understand that it's really not that, and that we're about, helping and action, not just, my goal is to help you fly and be free. I don't think that I need to coach you for 10 years. If I do, then we might have a bigger problem. Um, and, and so I think that's it too, right? Understanding that it's not intended to be lifelong, at least in a static kind of way, right? That it's always evolving. Um, and I think the third part is that people think you like really can't make a living doing it. Um, and you can make a living doing it. Um, it takes a lot of intentional effort and energy at the beginning. But once you start rolling and people then, know what you're doing, there's such a need for people to hold space and for others to be able to feel seen, and have the ability to be heard. And I think, that's the part that, people just don't necessarily think about.
Thank you for sharing that. Lumia really describes coaching as an opportunity to be a mirror and a flashlight for somebody. And like that's exactly what you described, Denise. Of like, is there a need? Yes. I mean, each of you that are on the screen right now, when's the last time you intentionally looked at yourself in the mirror? Just that like eye contact and look with yourself. So a coach gets to hold that space. Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing that up. I am a positivity coach and I support individuals through the lens of what positivity means to that particular individual. And if you think about like how we all define words so differently and just being able to like verbalize like your feelings, your emotions inside, there can be endless growth. And we want them to feel that freedom and expansion instead of having that with us with the rest of our life as a coaching relationship. So we get to give that confidence and radiate that right back to them. Shine that flashlight. Thanks for bringing that up. Kat, please.
Sorry, I just quickly wanted to also add to something Denise said that I thought was so important, which is the energy piece. And I think, like, those of us that are coming from the corporate world, maybe we're used to working 8, 9 hours a day. It doesn't translate the same way in coaching. Like, you cannot coach for 8 or 9 hours a day. Like, it doesn't work like that. Like, you really, I think it's sort of a trial and error piece. Like, you have to coach and then kind of see what works for you. Maybe coaching 2 clients a day is enough. Maybe you have the space to coach five. Maybe you coach one and you have four scheduled, and you need to say, you know what, I need to reschedule the next four, and that's okay. So I just wanted to call that out.
Yeah,
Huge.
Pat, I appreciate you putting a point on that because truly, when you shift from corporate, I was used to being always on. That was my corporate life. I was in a highly male dominated environment, and in, very demand kind of cultures. And so, anybody who was texting me, didn't matter if it was 10 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm responding, right? And when I started doing this full time, it's different when it's you and you're just in charge of all of your own schedule and your energy. And I would find that because I like what I do, I would get sucked into a rabbit hole of like focus, and all of a sudden I would look up and I would be sitting in my kitchen and it was pitch black and all I had was like the light of my laptop. And I'm like, oh, I probably need to stop, right? And so time blocking has become, like one of my best friends relative to that. I still fight it. I still fight like just overbooking myself. And I just had an experience this past week where I had a really, really challenging emotional client who took a tremendous amount of my energy, and um, I had like a coaching hangover for a day afterwards, and I just had to like take a breath and and fight myself over it still being okay. I'll just be honest. I like it's still hard.
Thank you both so much for sharing that energy piece. It's huge. It is absolutely such a big aspect when it comes into the sense of coaching and being able to support individuals and hear what they say. Marnay, anything you want to add to that? I feel the juiciness.
Yes, yes. Coming out of the burnout from corporate into doing my own thing is really refreshing, but I have to relearn how to structure what I want and my day, what that looks like. But even with Randstad, like we are getting a lot of clients. Unfortunately, the market is terrible right now and people are getting laid off a lot. But I've learned because I've been burned to add some blocks of time to myself through my day and really set those boundaries for myself. And learning to set boundaries is also part of my practice of helping people to realize that boundaries are kind and nice and you need them.
Yes. Life lesson, biggest takeaway today. Take care of yourself, make those boundaries.
Yes.
This question I want all of you to answer, Kat, Denise, and Marnay. In thinking about your past experience and what you have done, where you are in coaching, and how you've even curated, like each of you have your own coaching practices, would you have gotten this practice or this role if you hadn't done coach training? Kat, go ahead and unmute. I see your head shaking. Tell us more.
Absolutely not. I wouldn't have had not only just the structured and thoughtful training, I wouldn't have had the community support. I wouldn't have had the confidence. Oh my God, Christy, how many times have you mentored me on just that one topic alone? I wouldn't have had the knowledge of, what it means to either go into the corporate space to be a coach versus being an entrepreneur or being a solopreneur and what all of these different things mean. No, I mean Lumia was absolutely the core and the foundation for all of this, and I'm so grateful. And I think the thing I'm most grateful about, honestly, is the community. That was the thing that really kind of helped me hit the confirm payment button. Like I felt like for the first time I wasn't like sold something, like I bought this because of the community. So the answer is a big no. It's because of Lumia.
Thanks, Kat. I appreciate you sharing that. And just like your input of like you really used a mirror for your personal confidence and what your dreams were, what you've dreamt up for yourself, manifest it, and now you've really put it into action. You're living and breathing your dreams. Denise,
Really,
how about you?
So I probably have a little bit of a different answer just because of my background, right? So would I have still been coaching? Yes. I knew that eventually I would bring this little side gig thing that gave me energy on days that I had icky corporate work to be my full-time work. I always said, oh, one of these days I'll do that, right? And then I ripped the band-aid off. And then I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? Right. And so it's a yes and for me, right? So what Lumia did was two things for me. I had been trained on coaching my entire professional career in one way, shape, or form. I was drawn to Lumia specifically because of Noelle and John. I had been following Noelle and John for probably 2 years prior, and Vanessa, John's spouse, and just the real, honest, authentic approach of Lumia was why Lumia was the answer for me. I had a lot of people say, "Oh, like check out this, check out that," but there was never hesitation. Like if I was doing another program, I was doing Lumia. And so for me, what it brought was community, Kat. I'm with you 100%. Like the community meant everything. the coaching that we did, with the mentor coaches was really incredibly helpful, because I really fought the loss of corporate identity. And so getting my head wrapped around the fact that this was just as important and valid as my C-suite job, was something that I had help with that from Bonnie and some of the others who I worked with, and that was tremendously helpful. And then some of the structure, right? Like the just the details that I would have absolutely struggled with. I would have gotten it done. I know how to do it, but the amount of time it would have taken me to build my own contract or, any of the other things that Lumia just provided, it was like, okay, look, I can grab that, I can go. And so all of that was just, absolutely incredibly helpful and still like the community is great. I reached into the community and one of the women who was in our cohort, to help me with a coaching job that like I didn't have capacity to do. And so she took on that and like we knew each other and had stayed in touch and it's really cool that way.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, community is such a huge like through line that I'm hearing from you and Kat. Marnée, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say the same thing, community. That was a big reason why I wanted to come to Lumia and also the lifetime access to it. Like, this is a long-term journey for myself and being able to graduate from my classes and still have the community behind me and I can, meet with my peers still and these connections and bonds that I've built have been absolutely amazing. And to answer like the original question, like, no, I would not be in the position I am today without going through training. I wanted to go back to school for psychology because that's always been an interest of mine. And I was like, I don't have that kind of money. So I'm still paying the first time back. So let me choose something else and like just stumbled across coaching and got super curious and dug into the research, considered so many different things, and the community aspect stood out to me. The diversity aspect stood out to me. The fact that we're offering scholarships and helping people, I think that's amazing. And much needed to help folks along. So there was a lot that attracted me to Lumia, and I found my old notebook of all my research, and it was just like, this one feels most aligned in my notes about Lumia, even down to pricing. It made sense for me. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Marnay. I appreciate it. And the one thing that I heard from a previous question I had asked you about, like your connection with Randstad RiseSmart, like you found that within the Lumia community as well. So I just appreciate each of you like highlighting that. Tell me about what's a result you've seen in your work that really sticks out to you because of what you have invested in with coaching. Go ahead, Marnay. You're already unmuted. I feel it.
All right, yeah. Let's see. I mean, I've done some coaching and like asked for testimonials, of course, but I had one comment from someone that I've been coaching, and it was, I leave every session loving myself a little more. And every time I even think about it, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like that's what I want people to do. I want them to love themselves. I want them to connect with themselves. And that just, solidified my mission and like what I'm trying to do. And then on the Randstad side, like seeing people land their jobs and seeing them have results based on like what we've talked about, what they want to go for, the guidance that I've given them and my insight as a recruiter is like gold to some of them of like, yes, you should reach out to the recruiter after you've applied and get your leg in the door. Like that advice has helped people land jobs really quickly. So I'm really happy about that as well.
Thank you so much for sharing. Just the self-love that you said your client is like taking on. Goodness, does the world need more of that?
Yes.
Denise, how about you?
is one of my favorite topics because I have like so many cool stories and I'm like, oh, I just love this part. It's the best.
Which one do I pick?
It's so affirming, right? It's just so affirming that like there's a reason why I'm doing this. And even on the days where I'm just like, oh, like last week, I was like, but it got to a better place, right? Um, I would say, shortly after I started my business full time, um, a woman who I had known who is a CHRO at a large organization reached out to me and she said, I don't know if you'd consider doing this or not. I would absolutely understand if you don't want to, but my son needs help. And she said, I'm going to tell you the story, but then I want you to let him tell you the story. And so, essentially, he had gotten his first really big job out of school at a startup that was like all the time on and really intense and also a big party culture. And he became addicted. And he had to go away to rehab for 6 months because it was pretty serious. And when he got back, he called his mom and said, I'm worthless to everyone. I don't have any good stories. I'm completely embarrassed. I have no idea what I'm going to do or how I'm going to find my way forward. And so she said, if you would talk to him and see, and if he wants to work with you, we'll figure it out. I did. We clicked right away. His confidence was like a sand pebble at that moment in time. And he had just such a, kind of judgment issue around everything that had happened and all the things that you can imagine, right? Fast forward, we worked together for 6 months. We focused on shifting his mindset, shifting his viewpoint and his lens, and giving him a way to speak his truth and his story that was authentic, but in a way that was actually authentic and championing his courage to make a new life and to lean into where he's headed. Um, and so, then we started working on like envisioning where he wanted to go, what kind of jobs he wanted to look at, and the culture that would be really aligned. And he found a great job with a culture that really cared about him, and had more of a like social kind of care to their environmental and social awareness. And he met a great person and got engaged. And like his mom texts me every once in a while and she's like, it's just so exciting to see him living his life and being the person he was before all that happened. And like, that's super cool when you get to see somebody get back on track and be happy.
Yes, it's that alignment, the energy of being able to like really take care of yourself and for you to reflect that love back. Look at all the different openings that entered into that person's life. Thank you for sharing that success story. Kat, I want you to answer that and answer this question, but alongside of, you have your ACC credential. And so how has this kind of stuck with you in your career path, entrepreneurial route, and with strawberry.me?
Great question. I'll answer your first question first with a quick story. So one of my clients in Strawberry, they were coming to me with ageism concerns, as well as this person had recently become differently abled, and so really showing up in the space feeling like they just could not do many different things that they enjoyed doing and they could do, was very reluctant about getting back into the job search. And we just finished our fourth session. He got a job, like he's so happy. And just, Denise, you mentioned the confidence piece. It is so incredible how a client will show up telling you that they need to be coached on one thing, but confidence is a lot of times at the core of what also needs to be addressed, regardless of what they think they need to be coached on. And so just watching his journey of like coming in, just feeling like he couldn't do certain things, to watching him do certain things, to watching him get a job and, asking like, can we do more sessions? It's just, it's incredible. It's incredible when you have a client that is willing to show up and be vulnerable and honest and open and just take a chance on us as coaches. And then the credential is a really interesting question. And I recently have been thinking about this because I feel like the credential is kind of reminding me of like the SHRM for anyone who's in the HR space, which I think it stands for Society of Human Resources Management. But anyway, it's like a big exam that you pass and you get, certification for that. And so what I am starting to see now is for like corporate career coaching positions, they are now, I'm seeing on almost every job post that they are going to preference folks that do have a credential. And it was something that I really took into consideration because I initially wasn't sure if I was going to get that because I wasn't sure if I wanted to go back into the corporate space. But it does seem to be quite valuable as coaching is an industry that continues to grow. I think people are starting to be more aware of it. So yeah, I do think that if you are wanting to go into like the career coach, career development, workforce development, employment specialist type roles, consider the credential.
Thank you, Kat. I asked that as like a combo special with you because in my research with strawberry.me and sending job posts to individuals, I've seen that come up so often, like credential required, credential highly encouraged, so appreciate you speaking to that and just that success story that you had with a client from that network. Thank you all so much for taking the time to answer my questions. Now I want to open the floor to all of you. In these, final like 15 minutes together, please, like the time now is yours. If it feels comfortable to unmute, please feel free to do so. You can type it into the chat, whether it's for all of our panelists, for one, what's calling to you right now? Marie, I see you. I'm gonna ask you to unmute so that you can
Right.
unmute now. There you go.
Yeah, I have a question for Denise because she was talking about that boy and he was having problems with addiction and his job, and she made a shift in his mindset. Now, I'm just curious because she has both uh, experience with consulting and coaching. Was that a little bit of both?
I would say predominantly coaching. The biggest issue that we had to work through was building his confidence and his trust in his ability to show up and bring value, and that others would see that in him. And so really that was the most challenging, and the thing that we spent the most of our time on. And then, we did some visioning around what an ideal work environment would look like. I use a couple of different tools. I'm a strengths finder person, and I use values and a couple of other, kind of elements to help people really put a pin on what their true north is, and then how that manifests itself in things like the kind of work you're doing, the setting. Are you an individual contributor? Are you actually, working on a team? Are you a leader? Or, all the things. And so I'd say it was predominantly coaching. A little bit, as he got into his job search, a little bit of advising around how to navigate that, right? But mostly getting him prepared to get there was the biggest pull.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking that follow-up, Marie. This is great. I see a message. Thank you, Amanda, for your ping here in the chat. That Kara asked, appreciate Denise sharing that it is possible to create a coaching business that provides full-time income. I find it challenging to continue the corporate role and build on the side and believe it is possible. Are there any tips to believe or make it happen? Would you mind sharing? And honestly, I think all three of you can share insight to this.
I would say there's never a perfect time. You never have enough money. And there's no perfect like landing point or runway. Um, give yourself permission to accept help if people want to help you along the way, whether it's opening doors or investing in you in some way, shape, or form. Um, and if it's really something you want to do, you you just find it somehow. I know that sounds very trite. I don't mean to be trite about it at all, but there is a way, right? And so when I made the shift, it was a very light to dark shift. I was not prepared at all, but it was necessary. And so financially, I was very unprepared. And I had a couple of my former clients who I had sunset with that I reached back out to and said, "Hey, if you know of anyone, like I need you again." Right. And so not being afraid to lean in and ask, hey, would you want to work together again? Or who do you know that I might be able to, offer support to or help for? Um, and then, I would say as much as the financial piece of it, it's the energy piece of it. And I know that again might sound trite or kind of woo. I guess I'm a little woo, maybe a lot. But what I learned was as I was what I described to my friends and my former professional colleagues on the corporate side, I was soul split. And so I had a foot in corporate and a foot in my business even after I left corporate. I had my corporate people saying, "Hey, just come back. It'll be so, you don't want to do that. It's so much harder. Like, why would you do that? We have like these things you can do, right? We'll open doors. We know somebody who wants to hire you, blah, blah, blah." And that is surely the easy button, right? For me. And so I felt very conflicted because at the same time, I'm like, I have bills to pay and I don't even know how I'm going to pay my bills sometimes. And then I had a great opportunity to uh, be in a room with about 30 female entrepreneurs who were in different stages right about that moment where I was like, I'm tipping one way or the other, and I don't know which way. And I had real clarity that I had to put all of my energy into it for it to be successful. And then if it wasn't successful, I would make a new decision. And so I stopped listening to my friends about jobs in corporate. I stopped getting job alerts. And I started just putting everything I had into growing it and being intentional. And within 30 days, I started getting my new like corporate client filled up. And I'm going into like year 5. So.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you, Denise. Are there any other questions that are coming to all of you? I want to make sure that you have the space to answer them. Nico, go ahead.
I'll drop a question in. Great panel, power panel, Marnée and Denise and Kat. Great to meet you, and thanks for all your stories and insights. Really wonderful. Um, I'm coming up towards the end of signature. I'm going to graduate in probably about a month or so, and the program's been amazing, and I'm feeling really good about it. But I was just thinking, sitting here with 3 graduates of the program, like I'm looking at the last 3 or 4 rungs on the monkey bars. I'm going to come to the end, and I'm going to have to swing off this sweet thing and out into the world. And I am out in the world coaching, but I'd just love to hear from any of you or all of you if you've got a little insight on that transition for you around when the program finished, maybe when you got your credential, what that step was like for you as you completed the journey.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Kat.
I definitely can jump on that. I think it's just such a range of emotions, right? Like you're feeling excited, ambitious, scared, just so many unknowns that you cannot control. I would say a couple of things. One, just remind yourself every day that you are awesome and that this is a marathon and not a sprint. And that, one person over here, their path and their journey isn't going to look like yours, and that's okay. It doesn't make you any less qualified or any less successful. So just take your time, like really enjoy the process of learning and growing and making mistakes. And then the second piece is, I'm very much, I don't know if it's like the only child in me or the Midwest in me, but I do enjoy getting to know people, and I talk to strangers, and I would definitely encourage you, if you're comfortable with that, kind of think about every interaction as your next potential client, if it feels right. You never know, and I really I kind of got that from this book called The Prosperous Coach, and I forget who the authors are, but really like grassroots, like as soon as you walk out of your door, every single person you see is a potential client. And not in like a used car salesman type of way, but in a connection type of way. You never know who could need your support or who could just need your connection or your expertise. So don't be afraid to start telling people if you haven't already who you are, what you do, introduce yourself, and just start slow and enjoy the process.
Thanks, Kat. That's great.
So well said, Kat. Amanda typed into the chat, if people don't know what you do, they can't hire you.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in on that really quick and just say two things. So, first of all, if you don't have a very concise talk track around what you do, find a way to have somebody help you do it. And when I say that, like, 15 or 20 words, no more. And it has to be meaningful so that people get it. And it's enough so that they're curious and they'll ask you maybe another question, right? And that just makes it easier to have a real conversation versus the, oh, do you life coach or do you career coach, right? Like the whole like that part. And I think, the other thing I would say is when you are out of the program and you're like in the world of coaching with all these other people who are coaching, like the first thing I did was start was like, I'm a power networker. Who else can I meet? Who else can I talk to? I want to hear what everybody else is doing. Um, and I had to remind myself that all the people who I was talking to, especially ones who have been doing this for 10 or 15 years full time, have been doing it 10 or 15 years full time. And so comparison is absolutely your enemy. Do not compare yourself. And I still have to remind myself of this, right? Because there's so many different ways of approaching coaching and so many different coaches out there that we're no two of us are alike, honestly. And that's the beauty of it. And that's why it's really cool that we can build something. But don't assume just because someone's really successful that, you are not going to be successful or you have to follow their model. You just do you.
Thanks, Denise.
Yeah.
Marnay, anything you want to answer to kind of close out our Q&A portion?
Yeah, don't forget to celebrate yourself once you graduate. I think that's another like great thing of being able to celebrate your clients and don't forget to celebrate yourself because you've accomplished so much and there's so much more to accomplish. So, yeah, go get it.
Great
Yes.
cherry on top, Marnée. That was great. Perfect.
And Nico, I'll make sure that you celebrate in graduation, so don't worry.
I'll be
I'll
ready.
hold you accountable. I'm your accountability partner. Thank you all so much for the thoughtful questions. Kat, Marnay, and Denise, if you would like to put your personal information, website, Instagram handle, email, whatever you like, please feel free to put into the chat for our community here. I do see a lot of our current students in this space, and I also see some new names. So I just want to meet you all where you're at in Lumia's program. And if you are drawing curiosity from this panel and what they've shared, a career path in coaching, please book a call with one of our admissions coaches. I'm going to put the link here in the chat right now. Lumia is a level 2 accredited program from the International Coaching Federation. And our program is in two parts. Our essentials track really is the foundations of what coaching is, learning different frameworks, techniques, the theory behind and the science behind what coaching does and will continue to do. And then our signature program, that is taking a step further and really expanding on your confidence, which the panelists have expressed and communicated. Getting opportunity to practice coach in depth with mentors, our instructors to really help support you in what you want to achieve and work towards that ICF credential if that's something that you're interested in. So please book a call with an admissions coach if you have any questions on this path. Um, I can't even believe it. It's been almost 5 years since I went through the program. And what Kat, Marnée, and Denise said, this community has illuminated who I was supposed to be, who I'm continuing to grow and be. So if this is connecting to you at all, please, please, please book a call and let's talk about it. What are you envisioning for yourself, your dreams, and connection to coaching, and see if this feels like the right step. Thank you all so much for showing up tonight, truly. I'm always so grateful for our community events. Thank you for being here. Panelists, Kat, Marnée, and Denise, thank you for sharing your insights. And for all of you future coaches and coaches right now, keep doing the work. It is so needed in the world. Thank you all so much for this evening. I hope you have a great night.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Bye, everyone.